Okay, our first game today, we're going to be talking about New World, and it wouldn't be New World on PC without one of our dedicated, awesome community members and awesome friend, Josh, aka PvP from our Discord channel. Josh, welcome to the podcast. Good to have you on here. So we've been obviously playing a lot of New World. Our Discord has been probably the fullest it's been since we started the podcast, to be honest.
Every day.
Oh my gosh, the amount of people that have been in there has been insane. But it's been great, and we've been playing through Amazon's new MMO. If you aren't familiar with it, basically a quick run through is it's from Amazon Game Studios. It's their first big foray, probably it's definitely going to be their first success that they've ever had, because Crucible died, and I don't remember what the other game was that they were trying to make that didn't succeed. But this one has been a long time coming. It is here. We went through the open beta, we went through the closed beta, and it is set in a new world where you can come in this, I don't know, how would you guys describe the setting? I mean, it's like a colonial,
right?
Colonial kind of era where you have muskets, but then you have magic and everything all combined. But you shipwreck on this new island of Eternum, and there's these corrupted beings here. There's these ancients that used to, I guess, basically control the land, and they are still there in some form, right? They're one of the races or the factions that we encounter.
Yeah, it's the bad guys, I guess.
The
not
bad
to
guys.
Spoil anything.
Yeah.
The story takes forever to ramp up. Forever. Even at 40, it's just kind of vague.
Yeah.
So there's the three factions of the colonials that shipwrecked here, and then there's the corrupted that existed here.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things, when you first start the game, you get to pick, after you level up to level 10, you can join one of three factions, and each faction has a different kind of focus. We are all under the Covenant, which is like a religious focus, but then there's the Marauders, and then there's the what is the other one? Third one? Syndicate. Thank you. We got the Syndicate, and so you pick a faction, and then these factions take control of different territories by spending lots and lots of money to gain control of said territories. And then once they have control of those territories, then they can initiate wars or really do faction missions to gain influence in the territory to initiate a war, which will then let them fight to hopefully take it over. And there's this whole battle that goes back and forth throughout the game, which I think is one of the really unique pieces of this MMO, is the economic and political kind of aspect to the whole entire game. So just jumping into it for you guys, I'll start with Josh, actually, because you're probably the most diehard MMO player that we have here on the podcast. Obviously, I know, Austin, you're a big MMO fan with the World of Warcraft, but
yeah,
Josh, I feel like you played every MMO under the sun. So how does this feel to you in comparison to other MMOs, just with this new economic and political kind of concept that they've introduced in this game?
It feels good. I feel like it does everything really well, but nothing like the best. And I think that's good enough for most MMO players, or people who are looking for their next MMO kick. And it draws a lot of inspiration, the political aspects and the zones and stuff. That's been said and done before in some other stuff, but the whole game feels good. It feels like a living, breathing world, and there's a lot of dependency on other things, whether it's resources or other people or other zones and things like that. So it does it well.
Yeah. Awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, everything. Coming out of WoW, and WoW's, at the time when I was really into it, it was pretty good, and obviously there's issues and things, but obviously it has reputation in the gaming world through its other games, and so it already has all this lore and all these characters and all these things that's built upon it, and you get to kind of experience and flesh some of those things out or learn things you haven't learned before. So coming into this, obviously there's nothing to go on. They release little tidbits here and there about what their idea was for the game, and you get to learn about places in the game and It wasn't like crazy. Like I want to get super heavily involved, which there's actually a lot of lore pages you can find in the world. But yeah, just coming into it, like Josh said, it does feel like a living, breathing world, and all the steps leading up from level 1 to where I'm at now, level 32, like it feels pretty fleshed out, well-rounded. I guess more or less there's like a linear path that you can follow, but I mean, it feels like a real true MMORPG. I mean, I think it's a little lighter on some aspects than other ones, but for me, like I'm fine with that. Because how I'm playing this game is actually how I played WoW. Like I didn't really care about the story. I just get the quests I need. I try to level up. I want to go do some PvP stuff because that's like where all the action's at. And I'll go watch a lore video or two on YouTube to kind of understand what exactly is going on, and that will round out my experience with this game.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, like on the note of the story, like do you guys feel like you're as engaged with the story as other MMOs, less engaged, more than, like, I mean, or are you just kind of skipping through the story as you go through the game at this point?
It's picked up where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I think that we're kind of at the tip of the iceberg, and I think the way the pacing is set up, it's leaving room for expansions and like, content updates.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of opening up at level, 30, 40-ish. Prior to that, it was like errand running and trying to open up the world for you. Like we were kind of, tired of that sort of warping around. But the story is good. I mean, it seems interesting so far. I mean, not far enough to spoil anything, but like the corrupted we were talking about exist on this island. And you've got 3 factions who happen to be warring it out for whatever reason, but in the story where I'm at, they start to converge and kind of think about the next steps here as far as the corrupted go along. So just a little insight to what goes on in the future is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, because I feel like so much of the main quest line. I mean, I'm at level 19 right now, so I'm not near as far as y'all are. Josh, you said you're what, level 37? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where I'm at, like level 19, I feel like I'm still like largely, like my quests are largely still tutorial based quests, which I thought was really interesting that like here we are, like, I mean, for me, I feel like I'm pretty far in leveling, but
exactly. Yeah.
It's still like there's just so much, I guess, to the game that they need to explore. And I just now feel like I got a grasp of the crafting. Like last night, I spent an hour just trying to make sense of how to level up my attributes or my skills, or is it their attributes, right? The woodworking and the arcana and all that stuff.
Yeah, like you're processing life skills.
Yeah, so like all that stuff, I was starting to finally like dig deep into how that all works, because that's a whole nother system in itself that is like pretty complicated to wrap my head around. I'm like just coming off of like trying to relate it to Valheim, because like Valheim has a lot of like the different crafting elements and stuff like that. But in this, it's like there's so many things that I don't know yet that I need to figure out how to uncover. I'm trying to be like, okay, how do I now level up my stone cutting, and how do I, level up my wood cutting without having to make 10,000 pieces of armor? But I guess, maybe I do have to make 10,000 pieces of armor in order for it to level up that skill, essentially. But there's a lot to it.
Travis bought a house. He bought a house already for 5,000 gold.
Oh, that's not
and
bad.
he wanted it so he could have more space to store all the stuff in. Well, it turns out you have to upgrade your furniture building skill. And so he did the math, or looked up somewhere how to do the math. He needs like 9,000 pieces of wood, like 5,000 pieces of ore, and 3,000 pieces of something else.
Yeah, or buy the item off of someone.
Yeah, just to get to the point where his furniture crafting is high enough to make a chest to have extra storage. And he's just like pulling his hair out because he's like, fuck this game. Because they don't tell you that, right? Like, oh, you can get a house to get more storage, but wait,
you have to furnish it. Like you have to put the individual decorations down to like the sconce on the wall.
Yeah.
Then he found someone squatting in his house when he bought it, and he couldn't even contact the homeowners association. So.
I don't know how that works, but it's.
So they
can't kick him out either, because that guy's been there longer than he has. So
they're like, I don't know how they work. They're like instance, right? There's like X amount of plots throughout the house or the town,
Yeah.
and you can buy them, and multiple people can buy the same house.
Right.
But there's some way that you like scroll. Like let's say you go to 10 whatever drive. You can scroll through like players' houses, or like at least just go into yours, and then your friends, like your party members, they can invite you to the house, and that's it. So you can't actually see other people unless something bugged out.
Probably
I
the
think
latter.
it bugged out.
Yeah.
I just thought it was hilarious that he was freaking out. That's motherfuckers in my house. He's like,
Yeah, so something happened, and
Calm
there's
down.
a guy squatting in his house for no apparent reason.
I want to talk about the world a little bit. So, there's a lot to this world, and we've now, I mean, like, it seems like when you start, was there 4 zones that you can start in, like starting grounds, basically?
4.
Yeah. So there's 4 you can start in. Did y'all all start? I mean, was I the only one that started in Monarch Bluffs, and y'all all started in
I was in Monarch's Bluff.
Oh, you were?
No,
Okay.
I was in Everfall.
Yeah.
I think we all ran over there except Nick.
Okay. So y'all like rather than doing your stuff in the place that you started at, you just went straight over there before anything happened. Yeah. So I mean, like, what I thought was really interesting about Eternum so far is that it's way more diverse than I thought it was going to be. And I obviously haven't been into I've just been in the 1 through 25 level areas, and like just going from Everfall to Monarch Bluffs down to Windward. Is that the one to the south of Everfall?
Yeah.
Windsward.
Windward, yeah. So that one, like, all 3 of those are like very different. The one at the very, very bottom, the First Light, I was shocked at like how much of that whole entire region was like a beach and like ocean, like the Gulf or whatever was basically there. And there was just like one like kind of vertical pathway you can like go up and down through, and that was mostly the extent of it. So it's a lot smaller than I feel like other territories were. But I thought that was really, really cool how different everything was. I'm really excited to start getting up into the other areas to see where like the snowy regions are and all that different stuff. But like, how do you guys feel about the world so far compared to previous MMOs you've played? Josh.
It looks good. It plays well. It's pretty diverse. Initially, I guess having played through so many of the betas, the closed beta, open beta, and some of the alphas, you kind of get used to the first 3 zones.
Yeah.
Been there and, said and done. And then you kind of go north more. And that second zone happened to be a little woodsy, which was kind of like our zone. And then after I went through that one, it started opening up even more. So there's a lot of diversity in a lot of the maps. They actually start branching out and feel better the higher levels you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even if you just think about it, the difference between Monarch Bluffs and Everfall and things like that, and the resources that are just like, that pertain to a particular place is really cool. The Windsward guys and the First Light guys, they don't have as much ore. So it costs more to buy it down there versus, where we're from, and plants and stuff are vice versa. They're, more of the greenery with the mushrooms and the foliage, and we don't have anything up where we're at. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you go to Brightwood, there's only like a certain amount of plants or fungi. Really, it's kind of mostly just like fungus type plants up there. But then you go down to Windward or you go to Everfall and you can find hemp.
It's
in
just
a lot of
everywhere,
places.
like just growing everywhere.
And that's what, like, you want to get that to upgrade your harvesting skill because it gives you like 90 points towards your harvesting every time.
Oh, really?
Which is awesome. Other stuff doesn't do that,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think coming into the world, obviously the map looks big, and after you get used to some of those starting areas, like everything gets pretty small. And I know early on I was like, oh man, I wish there was mounts. Like, when do we get mounts? And maybe we'll get mounts in the future. But after you start walking around and learning where everything's at, like, the world gets real small real fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, outside, like, because you go into an area like Everfall and you're doing quests there, and main quest, side quests, faction quests, and you're trying to harvest some stuff. So you get to like know your area, and you're like, oh, okay, well, when I'm going over here, I know where to like hit up some mines or hit up some ore or hit up some hemp, just kind of increase your stuff as you go. And just everything gets so small, and you get I kind of got stuck in an area. I thought I had to stay in this area for like a certain amount of time to get to a certain level. But
Yeah, that's how I felt about Everfall.
yeah, I was
think
there
I overstayed.
forever. And I was like going so slow to leveling. I was like, what that? Like, this is getting really boring real fast. And then I know Nick told me, or he mentioned you, Josh, if you're going to go somewhere else to do some side quests. I was like, side quests? Like, how do you get those side quests? Because at a certain point in the story, eventually, a lot of the town, like starting location town settlements, they start lighting up with like, hey, there's 3 quests here. And it seems like every town has 3 quests from these 3 similar vendors that you can get and just go do stuff. They're side quests, and you get a decent amount of XP. And so like I just didn't want to leave my area. I thought the whole point was to like you start where you go, and the certain starting area, then you just start going up the map to where it's like higher and higher level areas. And so thank God Nick told me that, because then I went down to what was it, Cutlass Keys?
Yeah, whatever the next zone is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it had all these side quests lit up all over the map, and I was like, oh shit, like I didn't even notice that. So I went down there and I just started leveling up faster and faster. So it's nice that the missions kind of take you all around, especially the main mission. Like you're going all over the freaking place, out in the middle of nowhere, and it's a little tedious because once you start getting those quick teleport locations, like you can easily jump around, but that costs what is that resource called again?
Azoth.
Yeah, like that. You only get 1,000 of that, and so burning that you kind of have to understand, like if you're over encumbered, it's going to take more for you to travel, so you want to dump off a lot of stuff at the bank or your storage shed, and then you can travel for less. And then just trying to manage all these things to get throughout the world is interesting, and it can be a lot to take in, especially if you don't know what the heck you're doing. Because I know in the beta, like I was just traveling all over the place, and then all of a sudden I couldn't travel. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. The world opening up with sort of the dependency on resources in different zones is kind of becoming apparent to me now. Because initially, like you said, you just get stuck in this like circuit of just doing, a couple faction quests or a couple board quests. Your side missions, they just fall off eventually. You integrate them into your loop, but then you finish them and they don't exist anymore. So your experience falls off and you realize you have to go to higher level places. But if you guys have ever played the MMO Albion, it's more PvP focused, but essentially what they do is you have to depend on the other territories for resources and stuff like that. So you can't always just like warp somewhere with the Azoth. Like you said, you're losing Azoth at a huge rate. So you have to walk it sometimes. Like if you need iron ore from, the north and the south, you have like crafting and bases there, but you need to like find a way to get it down there, which isn't cheap, or you have to walk it, like, pack your bags and start walking. So I think more and more as this game progresses, there's going to be like a lot of walking, but like transporting of goods, right? Like
Right.
to other places. Traders will be trying to do that to make a profit, or like help their guilds out, or even just finding the right tier workbenches. So it's going to be like a whole network, so to speak, of what's going on, and depending on who controls it, it can change a lot of the outcome of the servers.
It's crazy that each settlement has its own auction house, which I didn't get that at first, because that's just not a concept I'm used to, right? It's like all the auction houses are connected, like in WoW, unless you go to dang, I forgot the port, one of the Goblin ports, where people come in from both sides and you can trade amongst the two factions.
Yeah, like that Booty Bay or whatever.
Yeah.
The Goblin port, whatever.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called.
So they're all.
And I was like, that's freaking fascinating, because like you said, like you go to Windsward and ore's going to be like expensive, obviously. So it's like you want to do all this traveling. So the world can be as small or as big as you want it to be.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember, because I know like when you go to your storage shed, you can click on the drop down up in the top right, and you can like see your storage at other locations. Obviously you can't take anything out of there, but you can at least see what your storage is like. In the auction house, can you do that same thing where you can see what the prices are at the other places, or do you have to physically go to them to compare the prices?
Pretty sure you have to go to them.
Okay.
I haven't found a way to,
because that would be I mean, that gets tedious too. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, I want iron ore, but it's like I have to now bounce around, spend all the Azoth to figure out how much it costs. But everything so far seems like it's relatively affordable. I haven't found anything like crazy expensive unless you want to get a bag, which I found. So curious about the bag. We were talking about the bags yesterday. I have the basic starter bag that you get, right? The next level bag is like the coarse leather bag, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
But it requires some kind of like holding something or another
Right.
thing. Where does that come from?
That comes from the faction reward vendor.
Okay.
So it's just a reward, just like you would buy your armor. So you take that piece and then you bring it to the outfitter, your armor or whatever, and it's just a piece for that next level bag.
Yeah.
So each tier you go up, there's a new rune of holding, tier 3, tier 4.
Yeah.
You buy the rune of holding, and then you craft the bag with it.
Got it. Okay. So that's what I need to work on. And when do you get that from the vendor? Is that like once you get to like the second level faction reputation or whatever? Or
I think there's a rune of holding for each level. So even at the starting one, there's a cheap one.
Yeah.
And then the second level, they all have their own rune.
Yeah.
For each tier, but it just depends on how fast you outgrow that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you just kind of hold out for the bigger bags because they are pricey. They're like in faction tokens, they rival like an armor piece, but in gold, it's like 500 gold for like one of those runes.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of plan it through.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because that yesterday I was getting encumbered very quickly and wasn't thinking about, because the whole entire time I was playing the game, I was just collecting the resources. Everything was fine. But at this point, because I was doing so much skinning, I had like 500 rawhide on my person.
That's so much.
And like just didn't even think about it. I was just like running around. I was like, oh, everything's fine. And then I ran out of space. I was like, damn it. But then it was like my fast travel was broken. So I couldn't fast travel back home to put my shit up. And I don't want to drop in a storage shed down in First Light. That's so freaking far. So that was.
Did you walk it?
Yeah, I walked it.
I guess I could have come grab it for you. Dang. Or someone could have come grab it for you.
Yeah, that's fair. That could have probably happened. Yeah.
I don't know. That wasn't.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, I walked the whole distance down from freaking First Light all the way up to Everfall.
I was about not leaving stuff in a different town because Everfall is like our main base, I guess.
Yeah.
Our main town. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Because you're going to be in one place for a decent amount of time. So you might as well just dump it all there. They have their own auction house, so you might actually sell some things,
Yeah.
And price is going to fluctuate, obviously, through each town. So I'm just like, I just leave stuff in towns now.
Well, for me, it's like the crafting, like having the crafting materials in one place is pretty crucial because I want to be able to like,
That's true.
craft and buy equipment in the place that we own or, our faction area or whatever. So it's like I was trying to collect enough stuff to buy the next level, the iron, like tools. And work through that. So I finally got all those last night, and that was I just need a place that I could access to do my linen and then do my lumber for something else, and then do my iron ingots or whatever they were. Like do all that stuff, and having it all right there makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
And now I realize I probably need to start doing some Arcana because I probably am going to eventually. I found out my life staff later on will use mana, so I probably need to start being able to craft mana potions. So we were talking yesterday about like what you want to focus on, and it looks like I'm gonna have to focus a little bit on some Arcana, level that up.
Please. So with WoW, you could choose two professions. So I would always go with mining and skinning because I can sell that stuff in the auction house and make some passive income on the side.
Yeah.
When I go back to town. But for this one, they let you do anything you want, everything you want. And for me, I feel like you kind of just need to do everything because I just see benefits of maybe at some point you're gathering all this stuff and you never use it and maybe you sell some of it. But I feel like, you guys aren't always on the time and I might want to upgrade something or do something on my own. And if I'm doing all this stuff throughout the time, throughout my play, like I can easily just level up quick whenever I need to, if I want to. Or I have enough stuff to pass it to you guys.
Yeah, that's the hope. At the very least, like everyone should be gathering. It's just so easy to start gathering. Everyone needs to be gathering. But let's say you go like tanning or leatherworking, and I go, smelting, I can give you all my stuff, and you can give me all your stuff, and then suddenly, we're leveling at a little faster rate.
Yeah.
But I think that, gathering is just so easy. Anyone can pick it up, and you have tons of tools to do. So it's nice to just run around and just kind of collect everything. It's kind of relaxing. It's not like so much pressure to, log on and raid or make sure you can complete this dungeon. So there's a lot of things to do in that aspect.
Because I'm level 32 right now. And at level 27, I kind of really stopped crafting everything because I just wanted to level. But now I'm in places where normally when I would just kill everything, skin everything, here's something to mine, I mine that, and maybe chop a few trees down for the town project. But to the point where it's like, damn, I can't do all the stuff that like the normal things you would kill and skin. Like I can't do that anymore. So now I'm
you
like,
have to backtrack.
Yeah, I'm rushing to like questing is taking a lot longer because I'm like, I might as well just like mine all this random stone on the ground and chop down this whole field of young trees.
Yeah,
I'm just behind.
So the town projects, I haven't done many of those yet. And is there any value? There's no value in doing them if your company or if your faction doesn't control the area, right?
Just experience for yourself.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, if like technically like you probably want to do it where you own it because it's going to help your town that you're in have more whatever. So like just go to that town and like collect those things, or because there's daily bonuses that you get like on the faction side of it. Is there any daily bonuses for the town board?
Not that I can remember. No, there's so many of them and they're always there.
Yeah.
And so they have like the 4 different sections or whatever, and you can complete them. And most of the time you just kind of selfishly like go through the towns and see what's like easy for you to do.
Right.
As far as like time to experience ratio. But I guess, you don't really want to benefit someone else's company or, someone's faction, but it does because they can upgrade those workbenches and they can upgrade those smelters or whatever. Like sometimes you want a tier 3 when your faction only has a tier 2. You can actually go down there and do it. I don't know if they tax you, they might, gouge you in taxes, but at least they've progressed enough to have those like higher workbenches.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're a crafter or something, then that opens a lot, the other stuff for you.
Yeah, that's true. Because I guess the tiered benches also lets you do. Because I was looking at, there's certain levels you have to be for a skill in order to unlock certain recipes. But I guess also the bench needs to have a certain tier level in order to show things you can actually like create at that bench. So
it'll show everything, but the higher the tier, like for Arcana, if you're only tier 1, you can only make the weak potions.
Yeah.
And then if it's a tier 2, you can make the common potions, etc. So it just keeps going up.
Got it.
People are starting to get like where they're getting tier 3, tier 4 crafts, and there's not that many benches.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how hard it is to actually upgrade those things, but there's a lot that the controlling faction has to work with as far as taxes and their income, and then how much experience or town board quests are being finished.
Yeah. So one of the things that we haven't talked about yet, but is in here, like not only do you join a faction, but you also have the company, which is basically like the equivalent of a guild. And for those that haven't played New World yet, which is probably most people listening, well, actually, maybe not most of the people listening. There might be a lot more than we think. But the companies, like when you build a company, what are they capped at? 50 people, I believe.
Yeah, it's 50, I think.
So 50 people can join a company, and they can, take control of a territory if there's nobody that's controlled it. But they also can take control of settlements, and those settlements, if they are like governing that settlement, they can set a tax rate. They can set like there's all these different rates of using that place. So you could theoretically and you also, all the money that is made there, a portion of that, or that will go back to your company to go into your bank essentially to then grow and expand to further areas and stuff like that, which I think is a really interesting concept. But I'm also nervous to see how it goes like later on. Where are we just going to see, is it going to be kind of like the tech world where we have Amazon, Facebook, and Apple that like and Google that own everything. And we're gonna have like 4 companies that
It could
basically
be,
own
yeah.
everything. Like that's what I'm nervous about.
For us, it is true. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we've got that, like you said, the cap is 50 people, and that kind of goes for the wars, right? Because the wars have a cap of 50 people. So if your company has 50 people and the max for the war is 50 people, likely you cannot get 100 people to log on for war. It's just not going to work. It's not like, possible. People have things to do. Probably get maybe 60-70% of your people on, but for the rest of your roster, you're going to have to pick up like random people. Well, with Discord and stuff that we have, social media and all these networking things now, these guilds are creating networks of their own companies and naming them like black and gold and blue, like we have. And so they're all essentially just one umbrella company ruling everything, putting their own members in war because it says, their color. And then we're having issues of people who are like less experienced or like less gung-ho about playing. They're not getting fit into wars. We're not controlling the territories, because we don't have the manpower anyway. We can't really muscle them out. But just saying, if you're an average guild, you still don't really have a chance.
Yeah. What if all those that one company group, that umbrella company that has all the different colors, was actually like managed by Jeff Bezos, and he's like, "This is my company to take over my game."
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
I control everything regardless.
Yeah, he's using the gold to go to space again.
Son of a bitch.
Well,
yeah.
So we streamed day 2, and we took over territory with our faction, and it was really cool. And so we went to war, or we started territory in conflict. And the war was set for Friday, and this was Wednesday, right?
It's like Wednesday or like early Thursday, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was Wednesday. It's Wednesday.
And so you can sign up to go to war. And so I signed up, Josh signed up, and then Josh got picked. I didn't get picked, but then he got booted because, well, he wasn't the highest level. At the time, he was probably pretty high.
Yeah, but then it was really high.
And then it got to the point where it's like people are leveling up pretty fast. So it kind of sucks. Like, how are we supposed to join in on these epic battles to decide the fate of a territory if that faction is the one in control of it? Like, that leaves a lot of people out. And I guess there's going to be a war within the faction to, hey, my company doesn't control any territory, but as soon as this territory gets lost or taken over, or I guess other companies will have to go out and find their own territory to take. So, like, I want to be in a battle, so maybe we need to get people to go take a territory and get the money and resources and stuff, so we could be a part of that action.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, I feel like that's a big part of the game that people might not even get to experience.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like in my mind, the wars was kind of like an end game kind of like component to the situation, because like I feel like eventually everybody's going to be 60, not everybody, but a lot of people will be level 60. And what I'm curious about though is how are they going to then dictate who? I mean, obviously the faction or the company will be the one that gets priority pick and stuff like that, but I'm curious if they're going to have to like expand the size of these, or what they're going to do for the wars to make it fair. Because I do think even if you are all at level, I mean, once everybody is level 60, you're going to have the problem of there's just too many people to jump into these, and there's not enough wars that are happening to make it worthwhile. But I mean, the idea sounds awesome, and I want so badly to join a war and be part of that 50 versus 50 thing, which, I mean, there's Outpost Rush that's also in-game content that we'll be able to partake in, which is, I think, basically the equivalent of that, but not for faction control. It's just to do. But yeah, I'm scared about the long-term effects of this economy and this like, political stuff that they've put in here is going to have on the game as more and more people start taking control. And it's like we were talking yesterday. I think Covenant, what do we say, like has like 10% of the population of the server is like Covenant. So we're very, very small compared to everybody else. So are we just going to be like shunned out and lose everything, or how is that going to come into play down the line?
Well, in our server, we started out great. We took the first area. We took one of the first territories, or the first territory in our server, and then we got a second one. And then everyone else only had one. And then the next time I logged in, which was like Wednesday, Thursday, we were blown out of the water.
Yeah, we have a really good position on the map. Just happened to be for our server. We have like the central core points. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of zones. I can't remember 10 or 12 zones. And simultaneously, I mean, if you have 50 versus 50, that's 100 people. That's almost 1,200 signups, all across the whole regions. So I don't know if there's a restriction, like, you can't be a war down here and be a war up there at the same time, or, one per week or something. I think like a restriction, like you can only be in a war every few days with one character would be appropriate to kind of seed everyone throughout the battlefield, because we're still in its infancy, so we're only fighting for like 1 or 2 zones really. But hopefully as we go up and level up, it'll alleviate the pressure on the lower level zones. But they've got to do something about it, really.
Yeah. It was interesting yesterday seeing how many battles were waging, because there was like at least 2 upcoming wars. There was 3 territories I want to say that had an invasion coming up. Which invasions are those? Do you have to sign up for those as well?
I think you do. Yeah, I think that's just like it's probably a PvE thing where you have to sign up for it, and like the defending company has to defend their fort.
Yeah.
But I think it is also sign up based. You can't just show up and then like having a battle in the open world or something.
Right.
Which is cool.
1,000 people there.
Which would be cool. Yeah.
You want to talk about our PvP experience in the open world?
I was gonna say let's talk about that a little bit. I'm curious because I haven't touched PvP yet, so I don't know what it's like. But I mean, how do you guys feel about the PvP here? What are you primarily doing with PvP, other than like obviously killing other players?
Just we're not even really PvPing. We're flagging up for the quest, the PvP quest. So that gives you like a ton of faction tokens. You got the regular faction quest. Yeah. You got 6 of them, and the top line is PvE focused. You don't have to be flagged up for that, and they'll give you tokens. But the PvP ones give you like double the amount. So really, it's like way more efficient with your time. And these PvP quests, they're like sprinkled right next to each other, like literally in the same zone. So you can knock all 3 of them out in like a few minutes if you don't have any opposition.
Yeah,
we're just running around PvP flag trying to complete these, and running into other people who are PvP flagged. So essentially, that's how it works.
Have you had encounters with other PvP players and taken them down successfully?
Oh yeah. We usually win.
Yeah.
If we're in a group, we usually win.
Yeah.
I think we've got a nice balance of people between our Discord, and my brother's got some friends too. We usually, in any 3+ man situation, will come on top. But level is like, there's no restrictions on PvP. You're either flagged or you're not. So you're level 10 or you're level 47 or going up against the opposite guy. He could absolutely destroy you.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. But it's a numbers game too, because like even if you're like 10, 15 levels down under someone, you can kill them.
Yeah.
You can dodge enough attacks and not take enough damage. If you take the damage, it's going to hurt. But if you can dodge, you won't take anything. He will get hurt too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've come across plenty of like level 10 to 15 players. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I got to kill you out of principle. So I just
blast them away.
I murder them.
So mean.
He shakes his head now.
I know, right? It's gonna happen to me later. Level 6 is gonna run up on me and be like, "I'm sorry, man."
Yeah.
No, so we're trying to take First Light, a territory in the very southern border or southeast of the map, and so we're all out there and trying to do all the PvP quests in a group. So that's really cool to like see your faction gather in one area and then go out and complete these quests. And obviously, people were trying to stop you, and so I was 29, I think I was still in my 20s, late 20s, and there was a bunch of that faction there trying to stop us. And so I went to attack this one guy to help let my friends go ahead of me, or my faction guys go ahead of me. And so some other guys sprung out because if you're crouched in the grass, your nameplate isn't shown. So they all popped out of nowhere and they all started, just wailing on me. But because I have a tank build, I put on Fortify and I was trying to do some damage and I got a healing potion in. But man, I was like, this is a no-win battle. But it was like 24, 25, 27, maybe 28, they're like, it was a good chunk of people and they're, doing some decent damage. But because of my build, I was able to get away scot-free, barely hanging on by a thread. But like, it's one of those things where you put your points where it counts and, you can survive. I mean, I got lucky. If I was any other build, like I would have been dead.
Yeah,
Wow.
you can die pretty fast. I think there's it seems like it's from the betas, it's been balanced pretty well as far as like the armor classes go and the damages, of the stat points and stuff where you distribute your stuff. So you can actually kind of swing yourself in different directions based on what you want to do, which is pretty interesting. I think it's pretty done well, and it doesn't ignore the aspect of levels, but it diminishes the fact that like you can kill a level 40 as a level 20 if you wanted to, or like if he didn't get any hits on you and you had the right build, you could probably eventually take him down, which is a cool system to have.
Yeah. I really like the focus. The thing I think that, because I mean, this is the first MMO I played that I've actually gotten into like ever, and I think the key things is that like the combat is interesting in that you're not just like left clicking over and over again. Like you have 2 different weapons, you have 3 skills to each weapon, you have a parry and a dodge. So there's like actually some like, there's a little bit of skill involved in how you attack other players and stuff like that. But obviously I've talked a lot about how much I hate inventory management in games. And this is one game that I feel like, I mean, across the board, the menu design is pretty solid for how much stuff is here to manage and understand and break through.
It manages it for you.
Exactly.
Like if you pull up your inventory, it's like, here's your weapons, here's your armor,
all broken down, filtered.
Yeah, it's just a list. Yeah,
it's great. Think about it. You hover over and it gives you all the shit. It's like, this is used for these things.
Yeah,
I do like the UI for the most part. The chat is kind of terrible.
Yeah, the chat.
But like, your character screen, your weapons, your achievements, that sort of thing. Your statistics are really nice and laid out. But the auction house needs so much work.
I don't like the auction house.
That's probably the worst UI design, but everything else is really, really nice.
Yeah.
Well, back to weapons. Like, so when we go PvPing, I like taking my axe and my sword and shield. And so with my axe, I have a dash, so I can charge at somebody for a pretty good amount of distance. And I might not hit them, but I can catch up to them a little closer, or at least get a little closer to them. Because a lot of people in PvP like to run, because we're badasses and stuff like that.
They just run away. They never return.
Yeah, they're like, no, I just won the quest. Yeah. But then, like, if I go PvE, I'll take my musket and my sword and shield out there. So, because a lot of you do town projects, and it's like kill a rabbit or kill some turkey. So it's like I don't want to run all the way to this turkey. The turkey's gonna run away anyway. There was a time I had my axe and my sword and shield, and it took me forever to get this fucking turkey.
Yeah,
I even used my
turkey
3 times. It was horrible. It was awful. So I have my musket out. I'll shoot him from afar, and then I'll be on my way. Get my, it's just passive XP.
I just discovered yesterday that if you level up your skinning enough, you start unlocking the ability to track animals, and I think that's really exciting.
Yeah.
I cannot wait, because now I can track rabbits and turkeys. Nice. But soon, when I get to I think it's level, I don't know what the next level is, but you can start tracking them like boar, and then eventually you can track bigger, like the biggest animals once you get to level 100 or whatever. So that's what leveling up your skinning does, is it gives you tracking abilities at each major milestone, which I thought was pretty cool. So
I have that for harvesting.
Yeah.
I could see some of the plants on the menu or on the map.
Yeah,
that's cool.
100 mining, and they pop up. Harvesting, like the bulbs and stuff, those will show up too.
Oh, nice.
And those are helpful. The tracking, I feel, is really helpful though, because once you do track them, all this quest in the town board is like kill 10 rabbits, kill 10 boars or something. If you just happen to miss it, or there's a lot of foliage or something, you can probably catch it and get those done a little quicker.
Yeah, because that was frustrating yesterday trying to track those damn elks, and I was like looking, I was like, there's no freaking elks around here.
Yeah.
then the pumas were glitched. I had pumas I was trying to kill, and they'd run up to me and they'd hit me once, and then they would look at me and I'd start bashing them with my stuff, and they'd retreat and then go back to full health.
I know where you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like an area that's bugged. They would just like run in a circle and then go like invuln for a while and then bite you and then run back.
Yeah. It drove me nuts. I was so upset, but eventually got it completed. It just took me probably 45 minutes longer than it should have.
Yeah. The PvP quests will have like, it's kind of the same layout each time. There's like a like a time zone where you have to stay in the zone for X amount of minutes, and then there's like one where you have to drop off an item, and then the third one is usually like the animals, where you're tracking the animals, like kill 5 rabbits or turkeys or whatever.
Okay.
So that becomes useful because you're like in a PvP zone and PvP situation, and someone could pop out at any moment, so you want to get them done and then finish it. And sometimes if you don't finish it, you just kind of leave because you don't want to lose all your progress on the other one. So having that tracking is super nice.
What do y'all feel about the dungeons? I've done some dungeons. I haven't touched a dungeon yet. How does that play into this?
It's good.
Austin loves them.
I mean, it's small.
Yeah.
It's a small dungeon, but I mean, you get your gear. Okay, well, the first time I played it sucked.
I was
under leveled. Yeah. Dying all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I've done one. I'm gonna do another one today here, the second one. At some point if I can find some time.
Yeah, 35 yet?
I'm 37.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I thought the main quest would take me through it. It hasn't yet, so I think I'm just gonna like do it because there's a side quest for it. But it's like a hack and slash dungeon. It's kind of it's different than what we've trained our brains to like do as far as dungeons and MMOs for the past several decades. There's no I mean there's an aggro system, there's a threat system. It doesn't seem to work as clear cut as some other games. Healing is not as clear cut. You're sort of like throwing a couple spells, and usually your biggest spell is an AoE heal that's on the ground, which is like everyone's responsibility to get in if they see it.
Right.
Like try and hold their ground, right? You can only throw it so far. And after that, if something happens, if Austin gets knocked out of it, well then that's his problem now. I did my job. Like, you just kind of encourage your tank to get in it or remind him to get in it, which is interesting because if you're not on like Discord or something, it's kind of hard.
Right.
But it's more of like a hack and slash. You kind of go through there and you try and maintain like a formation, but ultimately it gets all screwed up. And
my biggest thing was like, come on, I'm aggroing you guys. Why aren't you attacking me? I have to run over here and get this guy, run over here and get that guy.
Everyone's responsible for their sort of positioning because it can get dirty pretty fast.
Yeah.
It's not too hard though.
Yeah.
Right, Austin? I mean, it's like besides the boss, it's kind of like you just go in there and just kind of whack a bunch of mobs, which I think it'll hopefully get better with like kind of different mechanics.
It's hard for some people because we're getting our asses kicked because of some people.
Yeah, some people are not very good, or some people are under leveled, or like
they don't understand.
I'm glad you're not talking about me yet because I haven't done them. So I'm sure you will be when I get in there. I'll be like of level, and I'll be like. But at least like for me, I can do it from a distance, I don't have to be up there, and I'll let y'all take aggro, and then I'll just.
Well, by the time we come and help you, it won't matter. They'll
they'll just die. we took Austin at a very low level.
Yeah,
and we got to the last boss, and we were really struggling. Our other teammates weren't that great either, but he was just under level. He couldn't hold the boss, and so he like instantly died, or like full dead. And he's locked out of the boss room. Eventually, we finish it by like a hair.
Yeah.
And the door opens, and it's like, oh, we finished. And Austin comes in. He's like, oh, good.
Where's his gear?
For me?
Yeah.
He's just like standing with his nose against the wall, like ready for the door to open. It just opens.
So the third time when we did it with Sarah, the first
way easier.
Let me go back. So when we were first doing it, the animation for at least on my screen seemed off. Like I would get hit, and then the big boss guy would jump forward with his attack. So I couldn't time a dodge right because it would always happen like a second before I needed to, actually, or before I wanted to dodge. And then when I played it with Sarah, maybe they fixed it at that point. I don't know, but I was able to like look behind me enough and see like time those dodges right, so he'd miss me. And so I would just run around circles and I mean, at that point, it was like
He was
game
way
over.
higher level too. His gear and
Yeah,
stuff
it's
is
true.
way better now than it was. When he was 22, is barely. He
Yeah.
couldn't get his new gear yet, but he's like really high now, and he's geared well. So
Yeah.
he can
Awesome.
hold it. But yeah, the dungeons. I feel like I don't have too high hopes of it because it's just not as like it doesn't seem like as tactful or like thought provoking as other MMOs.
Yeah.
The ceiling isn't there, but I hope that they kind of take like the Destiny route. I don't know if you guys ever raided in Destiny.
Yeah.
But there's like
Few times.
it's similar, right? You don't really have like classes or anything like that. Or they're sort of watered down
Right.
versus a traditional MMO. So what they do is they add a lot of like puzzles and stuff. Split up the group so they can kind of act independently and bring, certain builds, hold off mobs or stand on like buttons and things like that to kind of create something that is a little more enjoyable, but
Yeah.
still fit the sort of style of MMO that this is.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's
We're
what
down with
because they're supposed to be when you get to 60. I don't know where they are, but the expeditions are supposed to open up, and I think that's where they're like dungeons, but I think they're going to have the puzzle aspects and a lot more involved. Kind of, and basically, I guess the raid is more or less what it's supposed to be. But I'm curious to know if those are going to live up because I don't know if anybody's even played them yet. Because I don't know if they were in the beta, but I'm curious to know if those are going to live up to the hype, or are we going to get to the end game and people are like, well, there is no end game. That's because they'll be tired of wars. They'll be tired of doing all the other stuff. They're leveled up at the max at this point. Like, I'm curious if it's gonna fall a little bit on its face when we get to that point or not.
Yeah, I really hope that they kind of work on the itemization and like how you get the materials for the end game legendaries and stuff.
Yeah.
So that it's fair for people, and then two, it promotes the fact that you have to do these expeditions. I'm okay with the not going the traditional route of having like one huge tank and 40 healers behind that person and 40 DPS. It's kind of like boring now, but hopefully they make it a little more thought provoking as far as puzzles, and like the bigger the group, the more disorganized it can get. So you bring in more leadership and more people who understand the mechanics, and then it gets engaging again. So
yeah,
I think as long as there's a carrot on the stick as far as like end game items, armor, crafting materials in there, people are always going to want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I could see what is it, like 200 levels per attribute or like life skill or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone, I think could keep people going for a while after reaching level 60 of just trying to get all that stuff maxed out.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting. So, I mean, as far as how does this compare for you guys to other MMOs you played in the past? Like, is it living up to the hype? Do you think it has the ability to be one of the most memorable or like the top tier MMOs, or too soon to tell? I don't know. Where do you kind of stand on that currently? Josh, what do you think? Or Austin? Sure, go for it.
It might be too soon to tell for me. I don't know. Like when lore videos start coming out and I can start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, I might be like, oh, okay, like there's like this deep history here with interesting characters that I can go in the world and see like, oh, I come to this ruin. I'm like, this used to be this ancient thing with blah, 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 whatever,
Yeah.
And that might be something that could pull me through, because that's what kind of happened with WoW. It's like I know about the past stuff before World of Warcraft, but I can bring that forward and be like, oh, okay, like I know about this area or this character, and it's interesting to me.
Yeah,
very surface level.
They've got a lot of work to do on it for sure. And if you go to the top part of the map, you can see like where they're going to expand the world pretty soon. So I think they've got a big team, a lot of money.
Yeah.
To really fix this thing. If people get to 60 and find out it's not what I really, hoped for. But I think that I would definitely say this game is a jack of all trades, but just not really a master of anything.
Yeah.
But I think that's okay too, because we've been doing the same thing for decades now, like I said, and the experience is different. But I think this is one of the first MMOs that like kind of bring back the feeling of mysticism and exploration, and the fantasy sort of, I'm kind of traveling to a different place, what the MMO at its root is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Versus everything else that has been coming out. This is like number crunchers, or like rushing to get to end game and completing certain things, which this feels different in some ways, and it looks amazing. So
yeah.
I find it interesting because the dev team was talking about, I can't remember if it was a video or a blog post, but they're trying to find a time where you can have that magic but kind of keep some things, like current things like guns and stuff. And so the time that they picked was, that kind of I forgot, you said at the beginning, Brett,
Colonial era.
Yeah, so you can kind of mesh all these things together and all these cultures together and kind of keep that Dungeons and Dragonish feel with magic in there. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like, I think they nailed it when it comes to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an uncommon kind of mashup of, never in a million years would have seen me run around like a American Revolution colonial dude with like skeleton glowy creatures coming after me. And kind of reminds me, what was that game that came out last year that was like a B-rated Mass Effect game that small studio had the colonial style.
Oh, fuck, I forgot.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking
I know
about.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
I want to say I want to say Everfall. No, wait, hang on. Starts with a G. Hang on. Greedfall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It kind of, in a way, reminds me of that, which had a similar kind of concept, but obviously RPG
I thought
instead.
Greedfall was this.
Oh,
when I
really?
first got it. Yeah, because it has the same vibe.
Yeah. That's funny.
Anyway, yeah. But to put things in perspective, like when on launch, they had 700,000 people on the first day.
Yeah.
And right now, in the 24-hour peak, is 913,000.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Right
now.
So it's maintaining.
It's holding population, and I think it's growing, which is another important thing. Is like there's been great MMOs in the past, but ultimately these things are built for a stable population.
Yeah.
As soon as population falls below a certain point, it doesn't become fun to play, even if the game is really good. You can't find enough friends to queue up with, or like the markets are crashing, or are in effect worthless because things are imbalanced. There's not enough new players to gather. There's not enough experienced players, to bring other weapons and things into the picture. So healthy population, hype of Amazon and other big streamers, hopefully will keep it going for a while. But also just the way the map is laid out as well, that sort of reliance on stuff iron from the low levels versus the star metal from the higher level places. You never really grow out of some of these systems, and that's what kind of keeps the map like always viable as far as gameplay. And not like, oh, I was there when the game started 6 months ago and I have not set foot in the starting zone since. This will always be viable.
And I will say too, I think what's really awesome about this game right now is that it's such an easy entry point because it's a $40 game. It's not full price, which shocked me when that like came out, and there's no monthly fee like WoW has, and like, which I still don't understand why people ever did that with WoW, but it's, to each their own. But it's, it's also not the free to play side where it's like heavily, wait, what's up?
WoW's dead.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's right. And it's not the free to play side where that's like overwhelmed with microtransactions. I'm curious to know what they do with the microtransactions down the line, because right now there's like not a lot of stuff you can buy in the shop, but how they're going to continue to monetize this in the future. I'm sure they're going to charge for expansions, I would imagine, but how that's going to work, if they bring out expansions, how are they going to tie it in so that you don't lose off players that don't buy the expansion, and they can still like kind of, work together and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that they definitely need to address down the pipeline to make sure that they're still able to, well, I'd say make sure they can still afford it. I'm sure Amazon is like, we're going to take a loss with this, just like we do with Whole Foods, and just like
I think so.
make this game and just let it run, and then everything else will pay for it. So
Yeah.
I mean, if the microtransactions pan out to be a good source of income, I mean, they won't need to do a paid expansion. At least I'd hope not.
yeah,
You just add
maybe
new
not.
stuff to the store, and boom.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I
think
can see
that
him adding a battle passes too.
the
Maybe not.
microtransactions right now are kind of like a sleeper
Mhm.
because of all that hot water about like pay to win and stuff initially, right? They didn't
Yeah.
want to like screw up the launch. So what they did is just super water it down for like the first couple months of release, and they're going to start putting stuff in there to not necessarily make it pay to win or anything, but like more cosmetics or like Azoth cap increase or bigger bags or something, convenience wise like that we'll see coming really soon.
That is so true. I never thought about that. I bet you that's exactly what they're going to do. Yeah, because that'd be huge. I mean, I would buy a bag increase in a heartbeat. I'd be like, yeah,
right?
I'm going to throw $5 at y'all to make my bag
Right? Don't
bigger.
say that. They're listening to you.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll
They're
do
like,
it.
oh, we didn't think of that. Put the bag increase in there.
Oh gosh, it's coming. It's coming soon. Well, cool. So that's New World. That's our overview of everything from New World. I mean, there's still a lot to discover, a lot to explore over the next several months. So we're gonna be diving in. I'm sure y'all are gonna be level 60. I'll be catching y'all up at level 30 at that point. So should be a good time. I'll get there. But it's been fun. It's been a fun game so far. I'm glad that we have something that we all can jump into. It's like, I know we've been playing a lot of
Discord.
co-op games with like 3 or 4 people or whatever, and it's like, this is awesome that we can play something that's not Among Us. That's like, we can play for like an hour and then we kind of get bored.
Mm-hmm.
Having something we can really like dive deep into and party up with has been fun. So
it's nice to be able to go as hard as you want or as not hard as you want. You can get on and chat and gather stuff, or if you want to power level yourself and run circuits through elite areas with a bunch of friends, you can do that too. But in the end, you're not really like leaving anyone behind. You're not going to be the first one with a legendary, but that legendary is not going to do too much in the grand scheme of things, right? Because it's always a numbers battle, and there's a lot of other systems to depend on that won't just come from having the strongest weapon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Josh, for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Heck yeah.
Glad to play with so many more people.
Right?
Every day, right? Popping in and out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Been consistent, man. Consistent, 5 to 10 people, it feels like.
Every day.
Even last night I was turning my game off, and like I think Nick and somebody else was on at like 2 o'clock or something like that. It's like it's just around the clock people are playing. I know people are jumping on at like 6 o'clock in the morning sometimes and
that's me
playing through. Yeah, that's right. So it's pretty cool.
Early bird.
Yeah.
Gotta beat the queue, man. Can't get stuck in the queue.
That's right.
Oh.